Good afternoon. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC, to educate, to enlighten, to entertain. And today, on this episode of Lest We Forget Historical, we're going to change the venue just a little bit. And we're going to be talking about cocaine sharks. No, it's not a new horror movie yet. However, sources have indicated that it might possibly be turned into one. And yes, after centuries of distributing and dropping our garbage into the ocean all over the world, our garbage is finally beginning to affect the inhabitants of the ocean, all those fish, octopus, sharks, dolphins, whales. You see, they pick up what we throw in. And that's what today's topic is going to be all about. And if you manage to make it through the 15 minutes or less of this podcast, you may find out a way of how you can help out. Because if mankind decides they want to do something, they can and they will. So please stay tuned. Recently, an article appeared on the BBC, and it was subsequently picked up by the New York Times. And what it was a finding from the Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, which found high levels of cocaine in 13 Brazilian sharp-nosed sharks located near Rio de Janeiro, which is also a famous tourist spot. And you're probably asking yourself, well, how did the cocaine get into the livers of the sharks and the muscles of the sharks? And the lady who wrote the article, Miss Ellen Goethel, Goethel, stated she could think of three possibilities. The first is illegal drug labs might be discharging underwater their wastewater into the harbor. Two, sharks could have ingested the drug when the cartels who were trying to get them into other countries illegally dumped them into the ocean so they would not be found by the federal police and prosecutors and avoid arrest. And of course, the third one is sewage discharge. When people throw garbage down into the sewers, where does it end up with? Well, most of the pipes and everything ends up in the ocean. Now, they're talking mainly about the Gulf of Maine, which is tropical waters, and of course, around Brazil. Water quality tests have revealed high levels of various drugs in the world's oceans for many years, because we've been using the oceans for several decades as another type of garbage waste disposal to get rid of them. And then when you have all those chemicals being filtered out through pipes into streams or rivers, they also go down to the ocean. So as a result, even though they claim that the wastewater was treated, it still gets down into the ocean following the path of least resistance. Shame on us. And you just thought plastic was a problem, or the plastic containers, or better yet, those plastic sleeves that have holes in them and you find them around the necks of turtles or sea lions or seals. So the idea is how much of the cocaine actually ends up in the ocean. And the likely answer is a lot more than you think. So let's start with the Gulf of Maine and the Gulf of Maine's watershed. This watershed drains into the Gulf of Maine and includes most of Massachusetts, north of Cape Cod, almost all of New Hampshire, all coastal and central Maine, the Bay of Fundy, New Brunswick to Cable Sable, Nova Scotia. That's a lot of places for it to end up with. A lot of these places are for the rich and famous and wealthy, but of all of these other places just have normal people in them with restaurants and industries and factories and people who just don't know that that's what garbage cans are for, or garbage bags. Just take a look at all the garbage those cruise ships and those river ships dispose of into the water as they go floating by. And sharks are trained. There's been several episodes on National Geographic and even during Shark Week where they told you that with fishermen and with people spearing fish and the waste from different cattle and lambs, it all flows into the ocean. The sharks get accustomed to eating this waste, and so they always show up like a dinner bell has been rung for them to go and get it. And the same apparently seems to apply to cocaine and other drugs. What does this mean for us? It means that all our streams and rivers and lakes in the watershed drain directly into the Gulf of Maine. It also means that the treatment facilities and septic systems in those areas do drain into the Gulf of Maine. Whereas down in Brazil, you have the coastal waters from the Gulf of Mexico. So think about this. If you live in a watershed area, everything you dump down your sink, dishwasher, washing machine, and toilet eventually drains into the Gulf. Think about that. So it's something you need to realize that man's behavior is not only polluting the ocean with our garbage, but we're now intoxicating and getting our marine animals addicted to coke. And what this does to the behavior of the sharks and other sea creatures has yet to be determined and to be investigated. Call to action. There are several conservation groups that you can join and try to start cleaning up the oceans, not just from plastic, but also from drugs that are dumped illegally into the ocean, or people who dump their own drugs into the ocean so they don't have to face the authorities. And remember this: your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren are the ones who are going to be affected by the behavior of sharks and other marine creatures that are getting high on your coke. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. You can listen and view this episode, Cocaine Shark, all over again on youtube.com/PWR Network, PW Talk Radio, on Facebook.com/Passionate World Radio, at https://PassionateWorldTalkRadio.com, and all our other social media directories, and social media foundational sites. This program has been brought to you by Ruby AI. It is your future, the future of visual and verbal, which Ruby AI has for you. So go try it out. https://esc73.ruby, esc73.try.rubi.ai. And for all you people out there who always wanted to learn how to podcast, the first lesson you learn is when you make a mistake, you don't panic, you don't break out crying or laughing. You pick yourself up, you brush yourself off, and you do it until you get it right. And this is reality podcasting with passionateworldtalkradio.com. And you can find out about the training that we provide for 2 months, an hour a day, first 30 minutes, lecture, last 30 minutes, questions and answer, and you get to put into action everything you were just provided with the information. Plus, at the end of the 2 months, you have 3 complete 15 minutes or less podcasts. Not only do you receive a certificate of completion, but you receive the opportunity to air your 3 podcasts, 1 for each week, 3 weeks, and the opportunity to become an intern at PWTRN for 6 months. And if you've built up a big audience and you're really passionate about the topic you did your podcasts on, you will also be given the opportunity to join our station as a podcast host. So thank you all very much for listening. And remember this, don't toss garbage into the ocean because someone lives there. And like all garbage, it eventually sinks down to the bottom. Have a great weekend.